Alrighty, hi there, 7th graders. This is Mrs. Oliver with today's lesson on still solving two-step equations, but we're going to take a step up to having rational coefficients. Remember, rational numbers are our integers, decimals, fractions. Okay, those are all part of the rational grouping. Okay, so we're still working with doing two-step equations. They're going to look a little bit more like this today, except we'll have either fractions or decimals as possibility. Today we're going to focus with integers, I believe. And then later this week, we're going to get to where we have actual decimals in our coefficient spot. Remember, a coefficient, if you don't remember, is the number that is being either multiplied or divided with the variable. So if we looked at this 8 here, that is a coefficient. Your 32 is a constant. Okay, so whenever you're talking about what we want to undo first, we're always going to undo our constant first. Okay, but today we are going to focus with modeling. Okay, so you're going to want to use, if you're at home, some type of circle, paper plate, get some paper and make it into $10 bills if you want, or you can just draw this on your notes as well. Okay, so we're going to be given some word problem sections, and we're going to kind of play around with what we have to see what would actually come of it. Okay, so you and your sister decided to split the cost of a new DVD player. On top of that, you pay an additional $30 for tax. If you alone spent $170, how much was the original price of a DVD player? Okay, so this is what you and your sister, your two halves. Okay, then you also spent an additional $10, $20, $30. All together, it equaled, are you with me, buddy? There we go, our equal. There's 50, 100, 60, and 70. Okay, but we want to know how much was the whole thing. Okay, so what we would want to do is every 10 that we can't take away, we would take away another 10 with it. And if you notice, then that means this one's going to take that one. So that's where it kind of helps to, if you're modeling on your paper with your 10s, well, what's the opposite of having $10? Using $10 for every 10. I gotta take away a 10 over here. It's that balance. You have to stay equal. Okay. So now we got to figure out how much is this whole half. Okay. We're saying your half of it equaled that. Okay. So then if I want to make it a whole section, I'm going to have to split this as only half of it. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there's $90 left. Well, if I brought in another half, how much is another half? Another $90. There's 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So altogether, a whole DVD player costs what we would say, there's a 50. I'll replace that one with this one here. 50, 100, 150, 160, 70, and 80. So we're saying that the whole DVD player then actually equaled $180. And remember, whenever you're answering word problems, you kind of want to answer it in a full sentence that restates the question. We were trying to find out how much the DVD player equaled. Okay? Which makes sense because if you only had to pay half of this plus your $30, that is $90. And that's what we had at one point. Let's look at our next one. To complement the DVD player, you and your two brothers, so that's you and two other people. So that means we have a third. Oops, there we go. A third that split the purchase of a television. Again, you tell them you will pay the tax, which is an additional $60. So I need to put 50, 60, and then my equal sign. And if you're self-paid $140, how much does the television cost? So there's 100, and 1, 2, 3. All right, so with these, we have to cancel out some other ones. All right, if I take away this 10, I need to take away all of these 10s. This one cancels, this one cancels. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means this 1/3 of the television costs 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. That's 1/3. So how much then would it be for the whole pizza? Well, if you have 70 3 times, what do we get? You might be out. All right. So this shows through all of it, the whole TV costs are 100, 150, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, $210. Okay. TV costs $210. All right. All right, so now without using manipulatives, we're actually going to draw this out, if you haven't already, for your notes. You and your best friend decide to split the bill for a fancy dinner. After dinner, you tell your friend that you'll buy some ice cream and toppings for another $10. If you paid $40, how much was the cost of the dinner? Okay, so that means you did half of it. So there's a half. Plus our 10 should equal 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, so now we need to subtract our 10. That means we subtract the 10 over here. So those cancel. Those cancel. That means this half here equals 30. So was the other half equal? Another 30. So how much did dinner cost? $60. Cost $60. All right. Your dance team decides to share the cost of new uniforms. There are 4 of you in all. So we have our little circle with 4 sections. Then you paid an additional $40, 10, 20, 30, 40. If you paid $100, how much was the cost of the uniforms? Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so for each of these $10, if I take this away, I need to take another one away. I'm taking a total of 40 on the left side, so I should take away a total of 40 on this side. Okay, so then I need to figure out, I still have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So that means a quarter, the 1 quarter that you paid was $60. Now, if all these quarters are equal and each of them are $60, how much was it in all? Got my zero. Well, 60 times 4, uniforms cost $240. Okay, so you're given a part, you need to find out what the part is, and then how much is it then for the whole thing, right? And your homework is going to be mainly modeling. So that's where you want to make sure you're understanding whatever you take away from your additional, it has to be the same amount on the other side to keep them balanced. Now, are we always going to be able to do this only modeling? No. Eventually, we're going to have fractions and harder numbers. So that's where you need to make sure that, one, you are doing what you need to do for all of it. Okay? All right. So remember, our first steps are always undo the addition or subtraction. So first steps. 1, undo our addition or subtraction. Remember, using the opposite. So whatever you see, you want to use the opposite of it. Then 2, undo or use the inverse operation of either multiplication or division. Okay, so for this first one, I have 2h plus 9 equals 21. I want to get rid of this constant first. So the opposite of adding 9 to get rid of it is going to be subtracting 9. I didn't change my color. Remember, you must show your inverse operation to both sides, whether you're doing it horizontally or vertically. All right, so then I can bring down my 2h. That stays the same. Equals. And then what's 21 minus 9? $21. I spent 9. I got 12 bucks left. So I see 2h as multiplication, right? Well, the inverse of multiplication is division. Okay? Whatever you do to one side, have to do to the other side. And the opposite of multiplication is our division. So now I'm going to divide both sides by 2. Why do I divide both sides by 2? Because 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then the identity of multiplication, any number times 1, is that number. So our h stays as it is. Okay, so then I get my solution. And remember, you can't just say 6. You have to put h equals 6. Which one is that? It's a different color. Okay, that is your solution, and that is how you write the solution. Then always, always, always check your work. And some of you are changing the equation to make it work the way you want to. You can't do that. You need to rewrite it as it is, just replacing the variable. So instead of h, I'm putting 6. Then I'm going to add 9. You're not putting minus 9, you're adding it, and 21. And some of you stop there. I'm like, well, you didn't really check it. You need to actually do the mathematical work now. Okay? So now we need to go in, actually use our PENMAS. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 9. We're still checking to see if it equals 21. Okay. Well, what is 12 plus 9? Well, that's 21. That's where you need to be showing all of the steps for your work. Okay, so then we get third step is our solution. Check work. Okay. All right, see if you can figure out this one down at the bottom underneath it, the challenge. Can you do that? And then come back and see if it is the same that I got. So this way it's all color coded for you. Okay. So our challenge problem, your first step was to add 9. So we know what is the inverse of subtraction? Addition. Okay. So then that means we have left just 2h. Not like 2h equals 30. What's the opposite of 30? Not the opposite, I mean the opposite of multiplication. That is our division. So now you should divide by 2. Now remember, you are showing this on both sides. This. Okay. So I put 2 there. I've got to put a 2 over here. Not the same. Then we need our solution. What does h equal? Well, h equals, what's half of 30? H equals 15. And of course, check your work. Okay. Check work. I had 2 times 15. And then we're going to take 9 away to see if we still get 21. Well, we know 2 times 15 is 30. And then the next step, take 9 away. I get 21 equals 21. So our work was successfully done. Okay. Next we have w plus 4 equals W divided by 4 plus 11 equals 31. First job, so we have to get rid of the 11. Okay, it needs to be eliminated. And the way we're going to do that was the inverse of addition. Subtraction. Whatever we do to one side, we got to do it to the other side. And we rewrite our equation as W divided by 4. W divided by 4 equals 12. Now this is where it gets tricky. This is division. What's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So you need to show that you are multiplying both sides by basically 4 over 1. Let me show you how, if you're writing with a pencil, how this would look. W. And then you have your division with 4, right? Invite that invisible 1 to the party. This is a 1 in front of that W, right? If you were to take 1/4 and flip it, you're multiplying both sides by 4 over 1. Whatever you do to one side, got to do to the other side. So I'm multiplying that one by 4. Okay? These 4's cancel. That is the whole point of it. So that W is by itself. Okay? So then we get our solution that W equals, and 12 times 4 is 48. Okay? Then the next step would be to check our work. Okay? Rewrite it. 48 divided by 4 plus 11 should equal 23. 48 divided by 4 is 12 plus 11. That's still going to equal 23. Yes. We're not. Oh, and yes, it does. First solution. If you get to this point and you don't get 23 equals 23, then somewhere in there you made a mistake. Okay? All right. I'm going to zoom in for 12. Give it a try. See what you think. Remember, what do you always need when you are doing fractions? Zoom in even more. Okay. Well, what do you need? You need common denominators always. Okay. This 4 here does not need to change. What you need to change is the 1 and 1/4 so that it has 16 as well. That's what we're looking to do. So we're going to leave W divided by 4 alone. And 4 can go into 16, so that's why we're going to use that. Well, what is times 4 times 4? Okay, so that means we then have W divided by 4 plus 1 and 4/16 equals my 2 and 3/16. Well, that's the opposite of addition, subtraction. You can't just make our 1 and 4/16 disappear. You have to provide proof of how you're getting it to disappear. Now, when I put it this way, I have my larger value on top. I'm subtracting the 1 and 4/16. But you know what I notice? I can't take my 4 away from my 3. So we have to do that little regrouping. Add 16 to 3, and you get that this is really now 19. All right. So we have W divided by 4 equals 19 minus 4 is 15/16. Okay. Now remember, we're inviting this invisible 1 so that when I go to actually do my work and multiply, I'm multiplying by 4 1s. So whatever I do to one side, we have to do to the other side. This makes those cancel. Now, can 4 go into 16? You always want to look to see, can you cross reduce? Yes, 4 goes into 16 4 times. That's 1. So then we have an improper fraction for our solution. That W equals 5/14. We can't leave it that way. Okay, we have to make it actually into a mixed number. 4 goes into 15 3 times, that's 12. 15 minus 12 is a 3. Now our next step is actually to solve this. Okay, and that's where it gets a little tricky. Okay. Let me extend the page some. So when we check this, we can actually leave it as the 15/4 because it's 15/4 divided by 4 plus the 1 4/16. And is that going to equal our 2 3/16? Okay. Remember, we can't really divide by 4. Okay. So if it was written as 4/1, I'm really going to multiply by 1/4. That gives me my 15/16 plus 1 4/16. So notice that is still going to equal our 1 3/16. Okay, well that makes 19. 1 19/16, so that's too much. So then that really is a 2 3/16, which is exactly what we are wanting to get on our other side. So yes, that one worked. That one took a little bit more work. That one was a challenge. Good challenge. Okay, if you need to catch up with your work, make sure you have your notes. Always good to have those to refer back to. And then we have our homework. I'm only going to really help you with one so that you know exactly what the teachers are looking for, but you have 6 problems. You have one that is a bar. Okay, so remember this whole thing should equal 11. And then you have 3/4 of x plus 2. Okay, and a textbook has great examples of these. So if you need to, check in your textbook. All right, using algebra tiles, show your work. Well, we know the first thing, we have a half, and then we have 3 pluses. Remember, if we have 3 pluses, how are we going to get rid of 3 pluses? With 3 negatives. Those make our zeros. They cancel each other out. Gone, gone, gone. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. Okay, so that tells me this 1/2 is a 3. If that half's 3, the other half obviously has to be 3. So then x equals 6. Remember, x always equals a whole. Okay, so make sure you're going through using your inverse operations. Okay, so number 2, you have a -4. What is the inverse or opposite of a negative? A positive. Okay, you are always canceling out with whatever side has your variable, which for this homework is going to be the right side. I mean, the left side is your variable and your equals over here. You'll always have canceling on the left, but not always on the right. Okay? If you have questions, reach out to your teacher. Otherwise, have a great day.